Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Friday Friends. I am Deb Burton, the founder and creator of RI Elder Info. In case you're not familiar, RI Elder Info is the most comprehensive resource for seniors, caregivers, and professionals here in Rhode Island. And every Friday we come on live and share information and resources that our community members need to know about. I think particularly in this time of COVID, it's really important that people get connected to the resources that are available to them in the community so that you can remain in the community for as long as possible. Absolutely would not be possible without the support of our sponsors. For the month of November, we have Raytheon and Cross Country Mortgage supporting us for our Friday Friends event. We have Oak Street Health as one of our overall supporters, as well as Tamarisk Assisted Living Facility. In the month of November, in order to recognize much of the veterans that are in Rhode Island, we are dedicating all of our Friday Friends to resources that support our veterans out there. I don't know if you know, but we have over 9,000 World War II and Korean War veterans here in Rhode Island. We've got over 21,000 Vietnam vets and over 15,000 Gulf War, Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation New Dawn, and Operation Enduring Freedom veterans here in our state. So we do have a large contingency of people who this information will be really helpful for. But I have a special focus as well that I wanted to just kind of highlight. Rhode Island is home to the World War II Foundation, and what Mr. Gray has done, he's a award-winning documentary filmmaker, is he has captured the stories of different individuals who have served in World War II. And somebody was wondering, Deb, why are you focused so much on World War II this month? During World War II, it was a world war, as we all know, but everybody worked together to support our men and women who were serving. There were food rationings that were going on, clothing rationings, paper rationings, and America as a whole came together to support the success in World War II. And I feel like with this pandemic going on, we as a world are fighting a war against a virus. And it's really important for all of us to come together to fight this virus and do what we can. And so I bring to you the stories of individuals from World War II and am extremely grateful to Mr. Gray from the World War II Foundation for allowing me to play segments of his videos. I encourage everybody to visit the World War II Foundation. But I'd like to show you a quick clip from Mr. Gray and the World War II Foundation regarding the Tuskegee Airmen. Wonderful group. If you could bring that up for us, Ben, that would be great.
Reserve Corps. We first started up because there was a war going on and you wanted to be a part of something, and they said, no, stay out, get your college training, get as much education as you can, then join up. That way you'll be of more use to the service. And I tried to do that. However, in my sophomore year in junior college, my final year, I was called to active duty as an enlisted reservist.
And so, you see, many individuals were looking to join up as all their friends did. They did what everyone else did to support the cause. So that was one of the amazing things about World War II. Also, something very amazing about our 9/11 veterans. Everybody joined together to support the cause. And now, as something that we're responsible for, as a member of the civilian population, I am not a military individual. It's my responsibility to share the resources that'll make the veterans' lives easier. And with that being said, I'd like to invite Christine Miller up from the Rhode Island Hospice Veterans Partnership. Hi, Christine. How are you?
Good. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. Oh, you kind of froze a little bit. See, things happen when you go live. It was working perfectly fine a few minutes ago, and now all of a sudden, zip. Oh,
I'm back.
There we go. Yay. See, these little hiccups happen. So if you could tell everybody, what is the Rhode Island Hospice Veterans Partnership?
So the partnership is a collaboration of all of the hospices who participate, and they don't all participate within the state of Rhode Island. We come together to provide education in the community to our veterans, families, as well as to honor our veterans for their service to the nation. So that's kind of our goal and our mission. We do different events throughout the year. Of course, it's been very, very different this last year, but that's what we do.
Wow. And when you say you honor veterans, what types of activities do you do to honor veterans?
Well, for every year we've done for the last, probably, I would say, since before the 70th anniversary, we would host an event at the World War II Memorial in downtown Providence for the Spirit of 45 Day every year. We do it every year, but on the 70th was probably one of the big ones because the statue of the KISS was going around. So that came, and yeah, and this year obviously was the 75th anniversary, so we had to do it very differently. We created a video that could be, played in nursing homes or assisted living facilities.
And I think, break it up a little bit.
Right. Anyway, so that on there.
That statue of the KISS, I actually saw that. That's down in Sarasota, Florida. It's a really cool statue, and it's really, really big.
It is really, really big. We were fortunate on the 70th anniversary that it happened to be in Rhode Island, so they were able to bring it to the memorial in downtown Providence for our event. So it was really nice. The event's always a great time. We have a lot of different speakers there, and Patriot God riders, and the vets come out, and it's really about honoring and celebrating them, that the greatest generation, the World War II generation. So, we also have done, I believe it was the 65th anniversary of the Korean War, the armistice, which was, it's in July, but it was 2 years ago. We did an event for them at McCoy Stadium. And then last year, we had a fundraiser and music fest to honor the Korean War vets. So,
there's Ben was just able to bring up a picture of the KISS. That's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. It's such a cool statue. But yeah, so that's our goal is every year we kind of collaborate on, where our focus is going to be, because usually the events are pretty big events and they take a lot of time and energy and effort. So, we try to pick one. We wanted to do a big one for the Vietnam War vets, a welcome home, which we were supposed to actually do at McCoy, and been planning to do at McCoy, and then with the cost with them leaving and COVID, we're going to have to reassess everything and maybe look towards 2022 for a big event.
How has COVID impacted your organization?
We really, we had so many things planned for this year between fundraisers, like I said, and other events and educational stuff out in the community. I'm also an Opus Peace ambassador.
What's that?
For I work with veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder.
Okay.
And also I do fallen comrade ceremonies in the community, as well as education on vets at end of life who, may have PTSD, or, we do soul injury presentations. It's kind of a lot and very involved, but soul injury is basically kind of similar to moral injury, which the VA calls, veterans who experienced combat trauma or any kind of trauma in the military. I worked with Deborah Grassman. She's from Opus Peace. That's the organization. She's worked with over 10,000 dying vets. She was a psych nurse practitioner. She's out in Florida. I've trained under her, which is how I became an Opus Peace ambassador. But any of that kind of educational stuff, anything that, our fallen comrade ceremonies, we haven't been able to do anything. I mean, everything's kind of just come to a standstill. Fundraising, I know there's probably a lot of virtual things. We've thrown some of that stuff around, and then we just kind of decided to maybe table some stuff for the spring and see how it goes. But you got to get
hear
creative,
that. Yeah. And that's how our Elder Info started. The Friday Friends is like, we really had to become creative about reaching people, because we used to do a lot of community outreach. And as you're aware, we work with the most vulnerable people. Um, so I wanted to back up for a minute because I think sometimes there are folks who really don't understand what palliative care is and what hospice is. So could you just give a kind of a brief explanation as to what those two things are? Because I think sometimes when a family is faced with, a really significant illness,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a conversation said, well, maybe you should look into hospice and palliative care.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of times the ears kind of like freeze at the word hospice. They don't
Mm-hmm.
hear the word palliative. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of people don't understand what it is. So could you like kind of walk people through what those two things are?
I can. I mean, I can definitely talk more to hospice than I can
Yeah,
palliative, but I can explain the
yeah,
basic difference
yeah, that'd be great.
of the two because I work on the hospice side. Um, so basically, with hospice, you need to be certified by a doctor to have a diagnosis of 6 months or less. And I know that that's scary. However, we've had hospice patients on for 3, 4 years
Wow.
because when they come up for recertification, they still meet that criteria of 6 months or less because they've had decline. So a lot of times we'll have people who have Alzheimer's, they come on with a huge weight loss.
Hmm.
And, they
Yep. Break it up.
can rebound a little bit better service.
Oh, you kind of broke up there, Christine.
All right. Can you hear me
There we
now?
go.
All right.
Yes.
So you have access to more services with hospice than you do with palliative care. Palliative care is usually people who sometimes come out of the hospital, maybe they don't quite certify yet for hospice care, are
Hmm.
eligible for palliative care. Palliative care usually deals a lot with, pain control, stuff like that. And some people go on palliative and then will transition over to hospice. You don't get as many services with palliative, not saying that it's a bad service, but you don't get access, I mean, to, home health aides 7 days a week necessarily, or
Hmm.
nurses or social workers or chaplains or, volunteers, or you're just eligible for more once you come on hospice. And people shouldn't be afraid of hospice because it doesn't mean the end. I mean, everybody, it's just it is a scary word, but like I
Yeah.
said, it's you have, if you're eligible for it, use it, take it, because it benefits the families so much. A lot of times it keeps
Yeah.
their loved ones home for longer if they can do that, because it's a paid service. It's a, by Medicare. So I mean, it's definitely worth at least exploring, and if you're eligible. But
Yep.
yeah, that would be the difference between the two.
Yep. And so I've gotten a couple calls recently from some families, and they were asking about what kind of additional services somebody could get in the home. So when you say you can get CNAs and nurses, does that mean that they can have someone from the hospice team in their house 24 hours, 7 days a week, taking care of their loved one?
No, it's not a 24-hour service. No, I mean, it depends on what their needs are. But I mean, we have had situations where we have aides that go in twice a day. They go in the morning and then one comes back later in the day because maybe that person needs help, dressing, cleaning in the morning, and then same thing later in the day. Or maybe that person is a feed and needs help or assistance with that. So, again, it's all based on the plan of care that's created and the needs of every family is very, very different.
Hmm.
And the same thing goes with the nurses. I mean, it's not round the clock care. A lot of times that has to be
Hmm.
private duty if someone needed round the clock. But we also have volunteers that go in that sit with loved ones. Right now, that's challenging because of
Yeah.
COVID. But we typically could have, if a family member needed to run out, we could have a volunteer come and sit with the patient. So there's a lot of different things, but again, every situation and every family is different.
Yeah.
So a lot of times with home cares, a lot of times we will have aides go out 7 days a week, to help and assist with whatever the family needs the most help with.
Hmm.
So it's a
That
little bit different when they're in,
so you
stable homes
broke
and
up a
they go
little
out
bit, but I
sometimes
think you're
7 days.
saying
Nursing homes
it's a little bit
need to
different
be
when
fed.
people are in nursing homes. Oops, she froze again.
Their
So
needs
So I think what Christine was saying there, I could hear her a little bit, maybe a little bit better, is sometimes what people are eligible for is a little bit different when they're in a nursing home. So if you could pick up from there, how can people get hospice in a nursing home?
Well, they can, and they're still eligible for the same exact services in a nursing home. If someone is a feed and needs to be fed 7 days a week, then we'll have an aide go in 7 days a week at a certain time. It really depends. A lot of times that doesn't happen. Maybe they only need us 5 days a week or 3. Typically, home cares are more
Mhm.
need more help because they don't have the other staff there as they would in a nursing home. But it definitely benefits the staff in the nursing home, who a lot of times they're short staffed when they have hospice come in.
Yeah.
Again, it's based on the plan of care that the nurse creates and what the patient's needs are at the time of admission. So
Mhm.
it varies, you know.
Mhm.
But yes, you can still get the same services in a nursing home as you do in a home
In a
care
home
and
care.
assisted living.
And do the individuals who are
Hmm.
who are providing the care, is there special training that one gets to be a hospice nurse or to be a hospice CNA?
I know that they do get certain certifications, but a lot of them, we have nurses, I mean, CNAs and nurses that come from a lot of long-term care facilities or assisted living facilities. I mean, we train them. They get usually hospice and palliative care certified
Mhm.
through through us. There's just classes they take and stuff like that. Um, but
Wow.
yeah,
It it sounds like a really genuinely um, kind-hearted way to honor our veterans who have served, who have, in some cases seen the worst of humanity. It gives them an opportunity to see the best in humanity. Um,
mhm.
you know, Carrie Lynn, um, Carrie Lynn Bendito Edge said, "My experience with hospice was a positive one. The hospice chaplain provided so much support as well. I consider hospice staff our angels on earth."
Oh, that's sweet. That's nice.
Yeah. And
It's
so,
definitely a rewarding job. That's for sure.
yeah. And so, for hospice, when the person passes, is that it? It's
No,
over, it's done, everybody pulls out? Because it's when
no.
people pass, sometimes the hardest part is the quiet afterwards.
That's right. And that's when I come in. That's where I come in. Usually, depending on several different factors, the family will get called usually about 2 weeks after the death. We
Mhm.
give them an opportunity to get through services and let the family leave. And that's when my role kind of begins with the families and helping them kind of grieve and process the loss. And so we follow them for 13 months. Well, that's a little misleading. They get mailings like on quarterly on grief and loss, and they're on our mailing list. And they have we services of remembrances, which we again haven't been able to have in the recent past, but we do big annual services of remembrance, and we invite all the families. And we've had so usually support groups running that the families go, but I do a lot of one-on-one, especially now, just like bereavement support, grief support, and counseling, and to help them kind of process things. So if they're struggling even after the 13 months, I'm still available. They just become community, we call them community bereaves, because I also support anyone out in the community who's struggling with grief, with grief and loss, or loss of family member, even if they weren't Beacon Hospice patients. That's part of my role as well. So, and it's all free services. It's offered to the community or to our patients and their families. So
Wow. So free
yeah,
services, because I think, you know, right now grief is very complicated. We don't get to mourn the way
no.
we have been able to in prior years, in prior, 13 months ago, not even a year ago. I
Mm-mm.
would say, it's very different. So, does the Rhode Island Hospice Veterans Partnership offer bereavement groups that people can participate in? Any kind of grief support groups?
Well, not necessarily the partnership, but I do through Beacon
Okay.
Hospice. So it can be challenging, like I said, with the groups because they're through Zoom right now.
Hmm.
The any support groups, and sometimes the older population are unable, to really get on and access it. So a lot of times I'm going into the homes because I make home visits mostly, and just providing one-on-one type support for them. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
So is the Rhode Island Hospice Veterans Partnership, is it a nonprofit, or
Yes,
how
the
do
Rhode
you
Island
do
Hospice.
this?
Well, through Beacon, my job is a grief counselor through Beacon.
Hmm.
That's Beacon wants to support our families and the community.
Hmm.
So they're a for-profit Beacon Hospice and a medicist, but they provide those free services through me. The Rhode Island Hospice Veterans Partnership is separate. That's like collaboration of all the hospices. So I'm the president of that and one of the founders. That is more specifically for just supporting our veterans. But if anybody needed anything, they would come to me as far as, any of the other stuff through Beacon.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so is there anything as a nonprofit, these day and age, you're struggling to find a lot of what we need to complete that community outreach or to really get our work done. So as a nonprofit, if people wanted to support the Rhode Island Hospice Veterans Partnership and support veterans in their last days and their family members afterwards, how would people do that? What would help?
I mean, we definitely are more than open to taking donations. Again, we typically have fundraisers. We haven't been able to do that this year, but the partnership is a nonprofit and we're all volunteers. So, we don't take a lot of money to run, we really don't. I mean, anything that we get in helps with the pins or the expenses for the food or whatever for an event or stuff like that. So, and a lot of people will donate stuff too. We usually, look for food donations or whatever. So, but if anybody wants to make a donation, I think you have my contact info, or they can even visit us on our Facebook page. If you search the Rhode Island Hospice Veterans Partnership, you can find us on Facebook. You can message me. I know that at one point, we do have somebody working on a website, and I know at one point, someone said they could put a donate button page on our Facebook, but we haven't quite gotten there yet.
The technology. See, and these are the things that I think when you're in the nonprofit world, it's getting like the websites up, getting the donate button up, that go on behind the scenes that a lot of times the people in the front don't realize it. It takes money to do that too.
Yeah.
So if people wanted to reach out to you, maybe they wanted to volunteer, maybe it's a company who wants to donate food or, we have plenty of jewelry makers who might be able to design pins and provide that for.
We have been looking for that. So
and so if there's somebody, if there's an organization out there, I encourage them to reach out to you. But how would they reach you?
The best way to reach me is through my work cell, which is I don't know if you guys have it, but it's yep, that's it. The 401-256-2741. You can also contact me through Beacon Hospice. I'm also available through there for anything. And that number is 401-294-6204. Or again, you can message me on Facebook through the Facebook page.
There you go. So lots of ways to contact you, lots of different ways to be able to support our veterans when it comes down to, their end of life, and to be able to support their families. And that is super important, important. So Christine, I'm really glad you were able to join us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. This was great. And I hope everybody watching, got something valuable that they'll be able to share with the community. And, obviously, if you can donate or you can volunteer, reach out to Christine.
Yeah. If you want to be on our mailing list, or if you have any questions, or if you're ever looking for any resources for veterans, I'm especially trained, especially in working with veterans at end of life, because we are finding more and more that veterans coming on service and nearing the end of their life can struggle with some symptoms of PTSD, especially with certain end of life medications. And, we do a whole educational presentation on that. So, so just contact me if you need anything or have any questions. If I don't have the answer, I'm sure I know somebody who does in the organization. So,
yes. Great. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, Christine. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. Obviously, if you need more information on the Rhode Island Hospice Veterans Partnership, reach out to Christine. If you're looking for resources for veterans, RI Elder Info hosted the Calling All Veterans Day event, and it is recorded, so you can catch a lot of information on resources to help veterans age independently. And of course, for the rest of this month, you can check us out on Friday Friends. So we'll see you next Friday at 9. And we will be discussing a wide variety of veterans benefits that are going on out there, that are available out there, that will help individuals age in place and age at home. So thank you. I hope everybody has liked and shared. Very important to get that information out. Word of mouth matters. And I look forward to seeing you all again next week. Have a great day.